Prahlada was about to be beheaded by his own father. See, the father is supposed to protect a child. When the protecting father turns to be an enemy and destroyer, tell me who will protect the child? Boliye na thoda. What God? So the law has failed there. The father who is supposed to protect the child, he takes his sword and said, I will behead you. He had already taken one step. In another step, the head would have fallen. Right at that particular point, what happened? There was a conversation between them. Whom are you relying upon to challenge me in this manner? My dear father, there is only one thing to be relied upon. One thing to be relied upon. It is Lord Hari. He is the Lord not merely for me, but for the Dikpalas, Indra, Chandra, and also you, my father. Bah! You, my father. He started getting inflamed, blazing. You challenge me, relying upon Lord Hari, and you say, I am also depending upon him. Where is your Lord Hari? He said, everywhere. If he is everywhere, is he in the pillar? He said, yes. So many are there in this assembly. Will you be able to swear upon God in this manner? I don't think. You have to be reborn. हम तो मंदिर जाएंगे, भगवान तुम ही हो, तुम ही हो, तुम ही हो, तुम ही हो. भजन तो करेंगे, तुम ही हो, दूसरा कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे. यहाँ तो the terrorizing father with the sword up in his hand, burning with rage. Then he was asking, where is your Lord Hari? Is he in the pillar? He said, yes. Satyam vidhadum nijabhritya bhashidam vyaptim ja bhudeshva akhileshu chatmanah. See how Srimad Bhagavata explains it. Satyam vidhadum nijabhritya bhashidam. My simple and humble devotee, a servant of mine, somehow has come out with a statement, I am everywhere. The father challenged it further. Is he in the pillar? He said, yes. His responsibility is over. He has said that I am present everywhere and therefore in the pillar also. Now this statement has to be vindicated by me, not by him. He does not say, I am present everywhere. He said, my Lord Hari is present everywhere. So it is for the Lord to say and prove that its statement is true. So Bhagavata puts it in this manner. Satyam vidhadum. To make his statement true and wholesome. Nijabhritya bhashidam. Something uttered by his humble servant. Vyaptim cha bhudeshva akhileshu chatmanaha. And also to prove clearly, make it evident that I am present everywhere. Adrishyata atyadbhuta rupa mudvahan. Adrishyata was seen. There is no question of imagination here. Was seen. All the people who were present there with the simple muscular eyes, flesh eyes, they saw. Atyadbhuta rupa mudvahan. Assuming an extremely wonderful, unimaginable form. Stambhe sabhayam. In the pillar, in that open assembly. Na mrugam, na manusham. Neither a beast nor a human. Nowhere it has been heard. Nowhere it has been seen till then. That is the Rupa that appeared. And the purpose was to vindicate his servant's statement and to prove his own presence everywhere. What do you say about it? This is that higher law. Higher law. Dharma has to be one. And adharma is shielded by unconquerable people. So what is the way to win dharma? Go to the unconquerables and ask them what is their view. They said, yes, you have to win and I have to be made to fall. This is the way you can do it. Who is any judge to say it is not right? Nahi samjha. If the applicant withdraws a case, what can the judge do? Not clear. समझ लेते हैं क्या? This is called the higher law. The visible legislation is not able to work properly, then a higher law comes. Higher law comes. This concept is there. If there are legal experts, you can go into them and ask them. The concept of higher law, it is something very, very indefinite, but certainly focused in its mission. See, I am very much agitated. Agitated means I am not telling you, it's only a language I use, not that I become sleepless. See, we have got prosecution procedures, and all these procedures are followed, and a case is taken. 9 years, a person is kept under bail, etc. And after 9 years, the magistrate says, this prosecution is groundless and I dismiss it. Can the law permit such unlawful prosecutions? What about the victims? Can it be law? I want to question it. I question it already. If the prosecution papers were made ready by the superintendent of police, are there not higher officers? Is there not a secretary in the Home Department, a minister, a cabinet? Do we not have intelligent people in the country, if not appointed by the government already? Why is it that we are not able to institute such prosecutions which are true, honorable, great and justifiable? 9 years you take, and the magistrate dismisses the prosecution saying it is groundless, it has got no substance. What about the suffering inflicted on the victim for no reason? My dear souls, if 5,000 of you can come along with me, I will set right these matters. It's a democratic country. A single Swami uttering it will not have any effect. But I should be joined by at least 5,000 or 10,000 people. Understand that we are a great country. We are a great country. Turn the annals of our culture. You will find impeccable personalities who are there. For somebody having said, I cannot trust Sri Rama, I cannot trust Sita, his wife, Rama submitted his resignation. Here the ministers will say, no, no, no. And after 6 weeks or 3 months, they will resign. Could they not resign honorably like Lal Bahadur Shastri? When the Ariyallur accident was there for the first time and 125 people died, he submitted his resignation. And Nehru, in accepting the resignation, he said, I want to institute a democratic convention. Not that Lal Bahadur Shastri is in any way responsible for the accident. And what was the result? He became the Prime Minister. He was only a railway minister. Because of this resignation, he became the Prime Minister. Nobody ever refers to it. They will only refer to Rajiv Gandhi. They will only refer to X Gandhi, Y Gandhi, etc. But Lal Bahadur Shastri has no reference at all, anywhere in our political parlance. That poor man, I have a lot of appreciation for him. We want Lal Bahadur Shastris, not the other people, scam people. Understand it. Now coming back to this issue, on the 14th year, Sri Rama decided to perform an austerity he was asking for. You know, Valmiki Ramayana describes it very graphically and well. When he was thinking in this manner, our Maharshis, they were the most concerned about national welfare and solidarity. When we sannyasins begin to speak about the country, all the people should listen to us. It is not a political exposition. We are not political exponents. We are moral exponents, dharmic exponents. When we speak about the country or its welfare, please lend your ears to what we say. So Maharshis were very much concerned. Ravana had already camped in Janasthana. 14,000, do you like to hear all this? 14,000 army people in Janasthana he had already camped. Dandakaranya was a place of austerity. This austerity and the culture arising out of it, the tremendous force arising out of it, this is the backbone of our country and its safety. Our power does not lie in men, in army, in weapons. Our power is in our heart, in our mind. We are unconquerable, unconquerable, unconquerable. Understand it, understand it, understand it. Purushottam was conquered by Alexander. He was brought as a prisoner before him. Alexander asked him, what is the type of treatment you want to be given by me? He said, I would like to be treated as a king like you, he said. This is India, my dear souls. Now, please give me at least a maintenance pension. Either we will live honorably or we will abandon our life. The world may not answer us, but the Creator will, does and can. Let the visible hands desert me, but the invisible will never. We want such hearts who will assert in this manner and defend whenever a cause is to be defended. So here is a prince who abandoned the entire throne willfully, willingly, and came to Dandakaranya for living here an austere life, only to fulfill his father's promise to his wife. He is not an ordinary man. He is much more than a prince or a possible king. In him we find an excellence, the might and glory of the spirit, as different from the bow and arrow and the muscles of the arms. Am I clear? Suniye na thoda. The muscular power everybody has. In Rama they found there is something different from bodily power, the power of hands and the power of bow and arrow. Here is a man of character. He has the power, the splendor, the grandeur, the might and the magnificence of the spirit. So let us use him. Ravana is going to conquer India. 14,000 army people are already camped under Karadushana and Trisharas. These were the captains. Who will contend them? We were not one country, there were so many countries, nobody knew about it. Maharshis were living in the forests, and Dandakaranya was the abode of austerity. So Ravana wanted to crush this Dandakaranya and camped the people there. Maharshis sensed it and they went to Sri Rama. I am very happy, we are very happy. What is your plan? I want to do tapasya for 1 year and I would like to have a cottage or a hermitage made somewhere. Then he said, Janasthana is the right place for you. Are you following me? Thoda suniye na. Janasthana is the right place. When Rama camped in Janasthana and started his austerity, they felt that there will be a conflict between Rama and the Ravana camp. And Rama would be able to contend them. This was their conclusion. So with insight they proposed. And ultimately Shurpanakha came and all that. And the entire army was single-handedly conquered by him. And he was pressing the tip of the bow and standing there in a relaxation. The Maharshis appeared there again and said, my dear Rama, we employed a stealth. Are you hearing me? Suniye na thoda. We employed a stealth by telling you Janasthana is the right place for you to pitch your tent. Actually, Janasthana is not the right place. But we told you to do so because we knew that this army people will contend you somehow and in the process you will liquidate them. We are very happy. Now the Maharshis who have given us our dharma, they themselves say that we are employing stealth in order to win the objective of dharma, to save the country. And then thereafter, Ravana came in the form of Marija, etc., this, that and all, and finally abducted. When Ravana was carrying Sita, Jadayu confronted him. And in the confrontation, Jadayu's wings were clipped and he fell. But Ravana had to alight on the earth. When he alighted, suddenly Sita escaped from the chariot and she went away, stood near a tree. Then Ravana said, come and sit here in the chariot. She said, no. So she held fast to the tree. At that time, Ravana pulled her. Are you following? Suniye na thoda. When Ravana touched her and pulled her, Brahma clapped his hands. हो गया, मेरी मतलब ठीक हो गई है. Ravana has done the most immoral act of touching a woman who is the wife of another. Now my cause, my purpose is fulfilled. Rama will go to Lanka and will liquidate this Ravana. So my ambition, my mission is fulfilled. He clapped his hands, it is said. So in order to take Rama to Lanka, this episode had to be enacted as a part of dharma. Please don't discuss dharma in simple terms. Understand it. Whether it is dharma or adharma, we have to live. Our welfare has to be ensured. In the name of dharma, I cannot desert anybody. Dharma has to come to the rescue of all. So Ravana was taken there. He fought the war. After fighting the war, Ravana fell. After he fell, this great Rama goes to him and asks him, my dear Ravana, you have fallen. We have no enmity between ourselves. In a few moments, the pranas will leave your body. You are a great person, you are a great person, a great knowledgeable person, very powerful. Where is Ayodhya and where was Lanka? In Lanka, all the doors and the beams, they were all golden. Ayodhya did not have that much of prosperity. It's called Sona Lanka, Suvarna Lanka. Can you tell me a message before you depart? He said, yes. I have known the entire Vedas. I could achieve anything that I wanted, but I postponed every time. So he said, the message for you is Shubhasya Shighram, Ashubhasya Kalaharanam. This is India, my dear souls. What is India? They fought and the enemy fell. After falling, the victor goes to him and asks, can you give me a parting message in your life? And he gives a message not only for Rama, for the entire world. It's an eternal message. Whatever you propose to do good, do it fast. And whatever is bad, postpone it forever. This is the message. Sun rahe hain kya? Now why I mention this? The cause of dharma has to be won. And in order to win it, any expediency that ensures the victory of dharma is welcome. So many people may say, this is not right, that is not right. Only the knowers of truth will be able to say, how did the Maharshi speak a lie in order to make Rama camp in Janasthana and instrument the liquidation of Ravana's army? So all these things will have to be done. Are you happy listening to all these things? Because I am a votary, I am an exponent of India's culture, India's greatness, India's superiority. We have got a treasure, and the treasure is written, recorded and documented in our scriptures, in our cultural narrations. Coming back to my point, a disciple or somebody going to a teacher and asking him for spiritual instruction. This marks the real optional birth in human life. This is the fundamental or most decisive transition. And what is he asking? Ko nama bandhaha. What is the bondage? Kathamesha agataha. How has it come? Have you ever thought about it? हम बंदित है रे भगवान तुम मुझे बचाओ कहाँ से बचाओ? Is he to take you away from the body or away from the house? What is bachna? बचाना क्या है? को नाम बंधः कथमेषा आगतः. How has it come? Katham prathishthasya. On what factors or adhisthana is the bondage resting? Where is it founded? A building rests upon its foundation. The roof rests upon the columns. Where is this bondage resting? Katham vimokshaha. How is it that we get relieved from the bondage? Ko savanatma. You refer to something as anatma. What is this anatma? Atma and anatma. Atma is self. Anatma means non-self. Kosavanatma Paramaka Atma. You refer to as Paramatmanastava. What is this Paramatma? Are there two? Or is it only one? When I refer to the Son and again refer to him as the Father, is the Son different from the Father? You don't understand. See, first of all, we are all born as children. So you are a son. The same son grows, becomes the husband, and finally a father. So when I refer to him, here is the son of his father, and here is the father of this son. Are they two different people or only one? Boliye na thoda. So the Jiva Atma, is it one? Anatma, is it another? And Paramatma, is it a third? Tayor vivekaha katame taduchyadam. How to understand the difference between two? What is Anatma and what is Atma? What is Paramatma? What is this Bandhana? What is this Moksha? All are concepts of the mind. Concepts of the mind. As concepts of the mind, mind is the author of these concepts. And mind is yours inside you. You can access your mind. Naturally you can access these concepts also. Try to understand them, define them, and find out how many things are within your body. Is it only one mind and many thoughts, or many thinking minds? बोलिए ना, मन एक ही है और विचार तो अनेक है, या अनेक विचार, विचार के समान मन भी अनेक है? So what is all this? Concepts can be many, but the conceiving mind can only be one. So what are these concepts founded upon? I would like to know. Tayor vivekaha kathame taduchyadam. How to distinguish between these concepts and arrive at the right one. So the process of liberation is an inquiry into these concepts themselves. Am I clear? Huh? Please understand that the entire spiritual and religious life, philosophical and yogic life, is a pilgrimage that takes place within our body, And the pilgrimage is undertaken by the intelligence, in the plane, in the terrain of the mind. And the intelligence undertakes this pilgrimage through a process of inquiry, knowing, investigating, examining, evaluating, assessing, appraising. All these are done by the intelligence until at last it is able to arrive at clarity, that means spotting the inner presence called the self. The distance to be covered is a zero. The distance between you and the God you refer to or you seek is zero. भगवान बहुत दूर पर है और बिल्कुल नजदीक है. चुप रहते हैं क्यों? बोलिए ना. वो सर्वव्यापक है. सर्वव्यापक होने के नाते बाहर भी है, भीतर भी है. यदि भगवान भीतर विराजमान है, भगवान नजदीक है या दूर पर है? उनको देखने के लिए केदारनाथ जाना है क्या? वैकुंठ जाना है क्या? पकड़िए ना भीतर. पकड़ने के लिए पहले समझना चाहिए मेरे भगवान सर्वव्यापक है. सर्वव्यापक है. सर्वव्यापक होने के कारण मेरे भीतर भी है. In order to touch the 7 seas, oceans of the world, do you have to travel everywhere or touch the sea anywhere at any point on the earth? So, kosavanatma paramahkatma tayor vivekaha kathame taduchyadam. In all our scriptural narrations, only one quality is sought to be cultivated in the readers and listeners, and that is viveka. And he emphasizes it. Tayor vivekaha kathame taduchyadam. So tell me about the process of cultivating viveka, excelling in that viveka, taking it to its destination and fruition.